I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Wednesday, November the 20th, 2013. Israel's Air Force hit 4 terrorist targets in Gaza last night in response to mortar fired from Gaza into southern Israel yesterday. The IDF said it hit a weapons manufacturing site and 2 attack tunnels in southern Gaza and a 4th terrorist activity center in northern Gaza. The IDF spokesman's office said the strike was in response to the mortar fired yesterday, which the IDF said fell near IDF forces who were working near the border fence. The IDF said the terror group Hamas bore full responsibility for the fire and reiterated that they would not tolerate any attempt to harm civilians or soldiers and will act against any element seeking to activate terrorism against the State of Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived in Moscow this afternoon, where he met with Russian President Vladimir Putin and made his case for taking a tough stance against Iran as talks in Geneva between Iran and world powers resume. Netanyahu is also set to meet with Jewish leadership in Russia and fly back to Israel tomorrow. The World Jewish Daily reports that with talk of a possible deal with Iran in Geneva, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said that Iran wanted ties with all countries, including the United States, but not apparently with Israel. Khamenei told commanders of the Basij militia force in Tehran today, in comments that were broadcast on statewide television there, that the Zionist regime is a regime whose pillars are extremely shaky and is doomed to extinction. Adding the enemies of Iran sometimes, and particularly the rabid dog of the region, the Zionist regime, malevolently claim that Iran is a threat to the entire world. Khamenei also lashed out at France, who has taken a tougher position against Iran in Geneva, saying French officials were, quote, not only succumbing to the United States, but they are kneeling before the Israeli regime. And without mentioning any specific country, Khamenei said Iran would slap aggressors in the face in such a way they will never forget it. French government spokeswoman Najat Vallaud-Belkacem responded to the Iranian leader's remarks about France today, saying that they are unacceptable and complicate nuclear negotiations. Israel's Ministry of Defense and the U.S. Missile Defense Agency conducted a successful test this morning in Israel of the David Sling air defense system. David Sling is designed to intercept intermediate and short-range rockets and cruise missiles. In the test this morning, which included representatives from both the Israel Air Force and the Pentagon, the Sling fired an interceptor at a ballistic target from short range and destroyed it. It also examined the remainder of the system's components for the first time. The ministry said that as soon as David Sling is fully operational, it would form a layer in Israel's growing multi-layered missile defense shield made up of the Arrow against ballistic threats and Iron Dome, saying it will allow in the near future for the State of Israel to deal with threats with far higher efficiency. Brandeis University has suspended its partnership with Al-Quds University in light of events that took place recently at the Palestinian school, including a demonstration which occurred on its main campus in Jerusalem earlier this month. On November the 5th, protesters marched in black military gear with fake automatic weapons while waving flags and offering the traditional Nazi salute at Al-Quds' Jerusalem campus. According to a statement from Brandeis, banners with images of, quote, martyred Palestinian suicide bombers were hung in the main square of the campus. Following the demonstration, President of Brandeis called on Al-Quds President Sari Nusseibeh to condemn the demonstration. On Sunday, Nusseibeh released a statement to his students saying that Jewish extremists were using the demonstration to, quote, capitalize on events in ways that misrepresent the university as promoting inhumane, anti-Semitic, fascist, and Nazi ideologies. Without these ideologies, Nusseibeh said, there would not have been the massacre of the Jewish people in Europe. Without the massacre, he said, there would not have been the enduring Palestinian catastrophe. Nusseibeh further said that these opportunists used these events to justify their efforts in garnering public support for the position that the Palestinian people don't deserve freedom and should remain under occupation. Brandeis called Nuseibeh's message unacceptable and inflammatory. It added that while Brandeis has an unwavering commitment to open dialogue on difficult issues, we are also obliged to recognize intolerance when we see it, and we cannot and will not turn a blind eye to intolerance. Brandeis said Al-Quds has been their sister university since 1998, and that the partnership was initiated with the best of intentions for opening a dialogue and building a foundation for peace, and that it has been very productive in many ways over the last several years. Brandeis President Lawrence said that he will evaluate that partnership once again in the future. Meanwhile, the Times of Israel reports that Nuseibeh did condemn this month's protest today, telling the Times that it was inconsistent with the human values we try to teach. Speaking to the Times of Israel in his office on the university's Beit Hanina campus today, Nuseibeh said that he hoped Brandeis would reconsider its position and said, needless to say, the event on the campus by this small group, trampling on Israeli flags and behaving as though sympathizing with Nazi or fascist ideology, in no way represents our university values, and we are constantly trying to prevent this kind of thing from happening. Israel's Minister of Industry, Trade and Labor, Naftali Bennett, addressed the Conference of Presidents of major American Jewish organizations in New York City last night. Bennett, who is also Minister of Religious Services, Jerusalem and Diaspora Affairs, and leader of the Jewish Home Party, addressed several issues at the event, including Iran. Bennett called for an agreement with the Islamic Republic that would dismantle the nuclear facility at Arak, disassemble Iran's missile network, and deny Iran the opportunity to enrich uranium.
So I want to thank you.
He stressed the importance of the U.S.-Israel relationship and praised the Obama administration as, quote, a huge friend, citing its strengthening U.S.-Israel security and intelligence ties. Bennett also noted recent steps in Israel to begin reforming the chief rabbinate and to significantly increase employment in the ultra-Orthodox community as well as among Israeli Arab women.
About the amazing food they serve.
The Jewish Council for Public Affairs sent a group of young leaders to Poland and then to Israel last week as part of the inaugural Frank Family Leadership Institute, which aims to identify emerging local Jewish leaders and prepare them to lead their own Jewish community relation councils and the JCPA. The group of 7 young leaders began their Poland visit in Krakow. They visited the Jewish ghetto, the Rama Synagogue, as well as the Auschwitz-Birkenau former Nazi death camp. They also met with the director of the JCC in Krakow, where they learned about the resurgence of Jewish life there. The leaders then flew to Israel to join the JCPA leadership mission, meeting with high-level Israeli, American, and Palestinian officials and addressing pressing concerns of the Jewish state.
There are those that cut their beard.
The Jewish Week reports that a Hasidic Jew who was fired from the New York City Police Academy earlier this year after refusing to trim his beard was ordered reinstated. Because of his beard, Fischel Litzman was unable to be certified in the use of a respirator. Therefore, he was not able to continue at the academy. However, Manhattan federal judge Harold Baer Jr. stated that 30% of the department's officers were also not certified, and that the NYPD did not provide a legitimate explanation as to why Litzman had to be terminated. Litzman's attorney said that he hoped that this is the beginning of the end of the NYPD's refusal to grant full religious accommodations to applicants who may not, for religious reasons, trim their beards. Litzman, through his attorney, said that he was grateful to those both inside and outside of the department who supported him. He said, "This is a great day for religious freedom in America. This decision will enable me to carry out my lifelong dream of serving the people of the city of New York as a uniformed police officer." And tonight on Shalom TV, catch L'Chaim at 9 for a roundtable discussion of the recent Pew Report on American Jews, followed by a replay of the premiere of The Wisdom of Dr. Ruth at 10. That's tonight here on Shalom TV and shalomtv.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Wednesday, November the 20th, 2013. I'm Teisha Bader.